It's great to welcome you here to the Clark Howard Show. You know, our mission is to serve you with advice and information that empowers you so you make better financial decisions in your life. And I'm going to talk about something I've been asked about repeatedly lately. What's going on with mortgage rates? How's that going to continue? We're going to talk about that. And also, it's weird. It's not too early to talk about Christmas shopping and your budget, and also hiring this Christmas for seasonal employment. I want to give you where that seems to be headed. I'm going to also talk about where you can find the best deals. So last year, I went out on a limb of, well, you could call it stupidity. And I did something that was reckless and careless. I predicted that in the back half of this year, which we're in, that we might see mortgage rates fall into the upper fives. Well, so far, I'm not looking so good on that. But the 30-year fixed rate loans are now down to about 6.20, a little less, a little more, depending on the day, because mortgage rates reset repeatedly through the day. But they are much better than when I made that prediction when they were bumping up against 8% on 30-year fixed rate loans. But the thing that's not talked about in the headlines is that the smart money move right now, if you can afford it, is 15-year loans. 15-year mortgages are now carrying a rate of just around 5.5%. Now, when anybody talks about the average mortgage rate in the market, that's for people of a solid credit profile, and that depends on how much you shop in your local market. And then the rate is only 1/3 of what you have to pay attention to, because you have closing costs and you also have this ugly thing called points. A lender could quote you a really low rate on a mortgage, either for a refi or for what's called a purchase mortgage, a mortgage when you're buying a property. And then while you're looking at that rate, what you're missing is they may be charging you significant points. Each point is 1% of the amount of money you're borrowing. So if you took out a home loan when rates were upper sevens, and you're like, wow, is it time for me to refinance? This is a tough one, because the odds favor that rates are going to continue to trend down. Not much lower than they are now, but somewhat lower. On the other hand, if you're in a position where you can refi out of a 30-year loan you took out when rates were upper sevens, and you can go mid-fives, then that's an opportunity for you to save a huge amount of interest with what will be a higher monthly payment than what you have right now. Okay, think about that. I'm having you trade what your monthly payment is for one that could be a little higher, but that will get you out of debt so much quicker with so much less interest paid. I have always been obsessed with the 15-year mortgage. Christa, you know, you think about over the years, over and over again, when you would be taking out a mortgage, and I would say, have you checked the rate on a 15-year?
Yeah, always.
Have you checked the rate on a 15-year? And you'd roll your eyes.
I didn't roll my eyes.
And then eventually you took out
I did.
A 15-year loan.
That just goes to show, if you say it enough times, eventually it sinks in.
So the 15-year is such an advantage, and right now has that interest rate spread that had been wider, but now is about normal, lower than the 30-year. But the advantage is just so large. Now, obviously, most people buying a home aren't going to be able to afford the monthly payment on a 15-year loan. But the 15-year loan is such a sweet spot for people who are on a higher rate and are looking to refi. Now, here's the hard thing, though. If you're in a 30-year loan and you need to stay in a 30-year loan, refining probably is not going to be cost effective yet, unless you took out a rate that was bumping 8%. You're going to have to be patient and ride the roller coaster down, which will go boop, 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 up, down a little bit as it moves down to my crazy prediction of last year that we'd see rates in the fives. And we're not there yet, but we are going to get there. Don't know if it'll be late this year, first quarter next year, but we're going to see 30-year rates also somewhere in the fives, barring some crazy thing in the world. Oh, I got something else going down,
What?
completely unrelated. I talked recently about price of a barrel of oil going down, and we've seen gas prices go down in the low tax states. People are seeing gas prices low twos a gallon. And now Saudi Arabia has given up trying to limit the supply of oil in the world. They're going to try to pick up more revenue. They're going to pump more oil, according to the Financial Times. And that's going to be reflected in what we pay in gas prices probably in the next 6 weeks. We'll see prices have another drop because of Saudi Arabia abandoning tight controls on how much oil they're producing. Others will use that as a green light. We're going to try to pick up more money. And it means that the gas price thing is going to get sweeter and sweeter for our wallets as we move forward.
All right, we'll go to questions. This one came in from Benu in Texas. Hi, Clark. I drive to work 2 days a week and listen to your podcast in the car, one there and one back. Then I force my wife to listen to the remaining ones when we go out for our errands on the weekend.
That's so cruel. I apologize to your wife right now.
We have a 30-year mortgage with a big bank for our house in Texas at 6.3%. We just sold our house in California for an absurd amount of money. We have the ability to do a recast of the mortgage to lower the monthly payment without changing the length of the loan. We were thinking like $300,000 to $400,000 on the outstanding $800,000 balance. We also want to refinance if and when rates come down on a 15-year. Should we recast and then shop for a lower rate, or shop for a lower rate and use the recast amount to negotiate a better rate? Is that even possible, and would it matter?
So the lender, when you recast, and recast is something that people have been more interested in recent years, is where you keep your existing loan in place, and the lender will not change the interest rate when they recast. But what they'll do is they'll re-amortize your loan when you give them a lump sum of cash. So instead of effectively shortening the length of your loan, continuing the payment as it is, you recast it with the lender, usually at no fee or just small nuisance fees, and then your loan term stays the same, but at a much lower monthly payment. So the lenders like this because if you give them a lump sum and keep paying what you're paying, your loan gets much shorter. You've done essentially a new loan at much shorter term. The interest rate stays the same, but they end up with far less interest from you over the years. So the lenders love a recast because even though they're going to get payments on a smaller overall balance, the payments stay stretched out and they're making more total interest off your loan. So as I just described, though, the 15-year loans hitting around 5.5%, you're at 6.3%. It's kind of tight there on whether it would make sense for you to refi into a 15-year loan. But I propose something else to you. Unless you're really stretched by your monthly payment, go ahead and pay in that additional principal. Keep paying as agreed, and know that every payment you make, far more of your money is going to principal rather than interest, and you'll greatly shorten the length of that loan. That would be the alternative to doing a recast.
Okay, Diana in Oklahoma says, I'm currently under contract to sell my house after 23 years of ownership. I'm a single homeowner with no kids. My question is, I've moved in with my mother to help after the loss of her husband, so I'm not buying a new house. With the proceeds of my sale, do I need to put them into her house, or can I use them for other bills, etc.? What will be the least tax burden?
So, Diana, you're going back to how tax law used to work, which is you would have to take the proceeds from the sale of one house and put it in another to defray capital gains. It doesn't work like that now. The first $250,000 in net profit after, expenses that you have from the sale of your home is free and clear profit to you going in your pocket, no tax. Any gain beyond $250,000 as a single individual will be subject to capital gains tax, but that's not a terrible tax rate. So the gain will overwhelmingly go in your pocket. If your gain is under that $250,000, it is yours free and clear. You use the money however you wish.
Mark in New York says, I've been a HULU customer for years, but they keep raising my rates. Is there another streaming service that costs less but still gives me local channels in the Syracuse, New York area? I want to be able to watch sports too.
So I loved your question, Mark, because the way you're going to get those sports, that you're going to get a better picture, so you're going to get an antenna. You're going to hook up the antenna to your TV, or if you have multiple TVs in your house, you can do one in your attic.
But
if
that's
you really,
just local sports, right? You're not
wait,
going to
wait,
get...
wait, wait, wait. See, that's what he said. Be able to watch sports, local channels.
Local channels. But they said, I want to be able to watch sports
we're going to get to that. We're going to get to that.
All right, I'm just concerned.
Okay, you be patient with me.
All right, Mark.
Okay.
I got you, Mark.
All right, so Mark, so first you get that antenna. You'll get all the sports that are on ABC, NBC, CBS, and Fox. You'll have them available to you with that antenna. And the cool thing, if you can pull in a signal from the local broadcast affiliates, the picture you'll get will be vastly superior to what you get from streaming. I mean, the picture will just shock you at no monthly cost. Then, if you want to get a wider variety of sports, generally you're going to want to go and avoid the higher costs you have with Hulu or with YouTube TV. You're going to want to be with Sling. One of the Slings, there's two different versions, will cost you a lot less, and what it will give you is ESPN, which is where so much of college sports in particular are on.
What about just subscribing to ESPN Plus?
You could, but ESPN Plus gives you some stuff, but not everything.
It gives you a lot.
Yeah?
It does give you a lot.
It does, but not like what you're going to have with regular ESPN. Mark really wants his sports, but wants them at a cheaper price.
Okay, Mark.
All right, so Mark, you're going to fight me on this,
I'm
aren't
fighting
you? Okay, so Mark, what you can do is we have the coolest tool ever. It is something where
at Clark.com.
At Clark.com, and it's our channel tool. And you go and you look at the channels that are most important to you, which obviously would be starting with ESPN, and then whatever others are important to you. And you'll see as you select more and more channels, what's going to be the cheapest source for you to be able to stream them and what that will cost you per month. So I'm really, really excited about our tool because it shows you options you didn't consider. And what will happen is when you get to like your fifth or sixth favorite channel and you see that your monthly jumps from, let's say, 40 to 65, you'll say, you know what? I can probably live without that channel. And my favorite for non-sport stuff is FAST. That's free television services that are booming. The hottest part of streaming are FAST services. We have a guide on Clark.com to all the various FASTs and what you get with them. Coming up ahead, I'm going to talk about how sales are already upon us for Christmas here in the second week of October. And also, what is seasonal hiring going to be like for this Christmas season? So I started about 3-4 years ago talking about how Black Friday weekend had become Black Friday month, that the whole month of November was when the peak bargains would be available for the Christmas shopping season. And then last year I had to amend that because the retailers got really antsy about whether or not you and I were going to buy. And so now, this year following last year's cycle, all the big retailers are offering deals starting the very beginning of October forward. And Amazon is doing another Prime Day kind of thing coming up the 8th and 9th. Walmart and other retailers like Target are already rolling out sales in October. So the whole thing is stretching out. If this year, though, follows last year, even though sales started in October and there will be decent deals in October, the best deals are still going to be reserved for Black Friday month, the whole month of November. So if you really want to save money on Christmas shopping, you're going to be tempted maybe if you're a bargain hunter to grab things that are going to go on sale over the next week and through the month of October. My money still rests on the best deals coming in November. And we're in a really odd split in American society that I've addressed different ways at different times this year. And that is, we have people who are just struggling to pay their monthly bills, to just put food on the table, all the different things involved in just the basics of life. And that seems to represent somewhere around 30% of Americans just struggling after the aftermath of that ugly inflationary cycle. And then we've got somewhere close to 2/3 or more of Americans that are doing okay right now and have the ability to fulfill wants instead of just needs. And the odd thing is needs have really stayed really hard with the cost for housing, cost for auto insurance, homeowners insurance, food, the things you gotta pay the bills for. And at the same time, things that are wants have been dropping in price. So this Christmas shopping season is going to be very promotional, as the retailers call it, because they're going to have to beg you to buy so many of the goods. Manufacturers have more capacity to make so many wants right now that the prices that they're making their goods available to retailers down. Air travel, way down in cost. Hotels that had gone so much up in price, now particularly this fall, have become meaningfully cheaper. So the want side of the equation is going to be, dare I say, a bargain through the fall quarter. The needs, they remain stubbornly expensive. So let's say you're somebody who just needs to close that gap. The retailers are not going to hire as many people for seasonal work this Christmas season as in past Christmas seasons. But the pay rates on average that are being offered are higher than you may have experienced in the past. There's going to be plenty of jobs for seasonal work, just not as plentiful as the desires of retailers maybe last year. But the jobs will pay well. There will be enough, almost certainly. And the earlier you get out there looking for seasonal employment, if you need to pick up that extra money, well, get out there and do it. And if you have a teenager in the household who likes to sit on his or her rear end a lot, this is an opportunity to get them out there, get them some work experience, and get them some spending money or saving money by getting out there and getting seasonal employment.
Okay, we'll go to questions. This is from Angela in Georgia. I'm looking for a part-time job, but I've been having a very hard time. I posed this question on Nextdoor and got the following response. So that her question was, is it just me, or does it seem like companies say they're hiring, but they're really not hiring? And she got a response that said, it is called ghost hiring. Companies post hiring jobs to show stakeholders that the company is doing well, and it's also used to get data on what type of people are applying for jobs. And then Angela said, wow, this is ridiculous and false advertisement and not fair. And the responder said, I agree. I know that many retailers will put now hiring signs on their doors, even though they're not hiring at that location or even at all. It comes down from corporate to make sure those signs stay on that door. Is this true?
I have never heard of the last one. All right, let's talk about ghost hiring, though. Where the term ghost hiring came from is back in 22, when employers were really worried they just couldn't find workers. Companies were posting jobs that did not exist. And this is really weird, particularly in the tech field and some of the finance jobs. They were hiring people, paying them to not work. I mean, is that crazy?
It is.
And so people ended up having these job offers, getting paid, and then the companies ended up later either saying, yeah, we actually don't need you, and they were gone. They got the money for that period of time, but then they were back in the job market. Or the worst was when companies extended offers to people on ghost jobs before they finish school. And then when they finish, they say, yeah, just kidding. There is no job. So there's smoke there and there is some fire. There really was a lot of ghost hiring, ghost employment going on. Today, that's not very common. Employers have pulled back some on hiring, but at the same time, layoffs have not spiked. It's been a very unusual job market right now, but there will be significant numbers of jobs in retail. As I just said a moment ago, there's high turnover in retail, and employers are going to need seasonal workers through this fall.
Deb in Texas says, I submitted a claim for the Oracle settlement with an option to be paid on the settlement is Zelle. I selected Zelle and only provided my email that's associated with my checking account. Is this safe or should I be worried?
So receiving money using Zelle as the platform, I hate Zelle being active on your checking account at all, but if it is, receiving money is not going to be a major risk. Having Zelle at all active on your checking account is where the risk is because of the security problems embedded in how Zelle works, that it is actually connected different than Venmo or Cash App. It is not connected by your option. It is wrapped up in your checking account. Somebody gets in there, they can Zelle money out with no way to recover it.
All right, this came from Gail in Virginia. I read your article about downsizing to a condo. You said your wife said that she misses the house, and I miss the house. So my question is, did she not have a say in going from a house to a condo? You said you like it, but it appears she does not.
Gail, my wife says that what she loves is putting her feet in the grass. She loves walking around barefoot, and it's her yard, it's her place, and she likes her privacy. So condo living turned out not to be her first best destiny. And so it is mine. I mean, the first places I lived as a teenager when I was out on my own was in a high-rise. And I loved living in a high-rise, and it's just who I am. Raising kids and all that, we lived in single-family houses. I am happiest in a condo. I like being able to lock and go, as they refer to it. My wife, on the other hand, likes her nests. So, no, in her mind, it was an experiment, and she wishes, in hindsight, that we had stayed in a home. So And if you know my wife, Lane, I don't tell her what to do.
She is a very confident, competent woman. She's incredibly impressive, and
that's not
you're
happening.
Not going to steamroll her.
Don't worry about that. That will not be happening. And besides, that's not how I operate. It's not how I think anyway. That marriage to function best must be collaborative. And no, I don't impose will on me, and she doesn't impose. Wait, I don't impose my will on her. She doesn't impose her will on me. We talk things through. And it's funny because I've always referred to our marriage as the MasterCard logo because we are very different people with different interests, but then we have the crossover as the MasterCard logo does.
Also known as a Venn diagram.
A Venn diagram?
Yeah.
What's that?
I think when you have the crossovers.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Am I wrong? Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, here you see the difference between the student who got an A in everything and then me in school. Very different kind of thing. But regardless, what we're about is about your empowerment with knowledge that gives you the ability to take control of your wallet. And that's why everything we do is about you learning ways to save more and spend less and avoid getting ripped off. And I want to mention something that that you may or may not have heard about, that we offer free one-on-one advice and guidance 30 hours each week, and except during holidays. And you can see how to get that and talk with one of our Team Clark members one-on-one for free if you go to clark.com/CAC. And see you tomorrow.